doing. We're going to bring up now Tim, and we're going to get into a little bit of a fireside chat. Tim's got an extensive experience, again, with technology, M&A, investment banking, and we're going to bring that all to light right now. So, how many of you guys run a business right now? Can I just get a raise of hands? Okay, we got a pretty good crowd out there, for sure. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about what has gotten you to the point where you are today.
Yep.
But let's just preface as to how you got started.
Great. I have a very interesting background, and a lot of it wasn't just me. I was born in Korea, and when I was 5, my father was a missionary doctor for the Presbyterian Church. So we ended up moving into Israel, which is now Bethlehem, which is on the West Bank, what is now considered Palestine, right? And I went to school in Jerusalem. When we were about 11 years, when I was 11 years old, after 6 years, we moved to the United States, where my father worked as a doctor, then as a pastor in Philadelphia. I went to Penn State University, graduated. I thought I was going to be working at the State Department, and I ended up at a bank doing mergers and acquisitions. I don't know how that happened for my liberal arts major. And then I ended up really enjoying what I did, and went to business school at the University of Chicago. Ended up working in financial institutions in many different ways, but primarily in the mergers and acquisitions and corporate development. And in 2010, I decided to make a switch and came to the Valley, where my wife is from. And we ended up originally as just investing in early stage companies as a private investor. And then I went and started to run some of these companies. And over the last 14 years or so, been running venture-backed companies, raised about $70 million in venture capital, about $350 million in revenue at an early stage generated from those companies. And now about 3 years ago, I started my next company, and hopefully the one something that combines my past on Wall Street with technology. So that's kind of where I am now with Socratics AI. And Socratics AI, we're just automating, leveraging AI to automate workflows for investment banks, private equity funds, private credit funds. And so ultimately what it was is back in the 90s when I was an analyst, they're doing the exact same thing today. Excel, coffee, and financial models on those. And what we decided to do was, how do we automate that? So that's the goal that we're doing, is trying to take out the execution layer, make it much more effective, 100 times more effective for analysts and for investment banks and anyone dealing with private company financials, where it's very dirty, messy. It could be KPMG could have audited it, or written or done your financials, or your brother-in-law, and being able to take all of that stuff and be able to just take it in and then create beautiful financial statements and financial models that bankers can use at an institutional level. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's where I am today, which is not where my parents thought I was going to be.
It's an interesting story. I know many of you out there, like I was asked before, and then also online, you're in a stage where you have a business, and you might be looking for another business, just like a lady in here today. And where do you start as far as looking for a new business to purchase? And then also, we'll get to Socratics AI and how you're able to help that, and help the actual acquisition of a business. But share with us how you're getting started, or if you're on your second approach, or identifying your target. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. So there are two different questions in there. One is, how do you figure out a target? And it's very different depending on the stage that you're in. So when I was running corporate development at large financial institutions, there are only limited companies in the world that you could look at, right? That really would move the needle. So the last large deal I did was a $20 billion merger of two companies. We were one of the largest insurance companies in the US, and we acquired another insurance company and created a very large insurance company. And that was the investment bankers coming in and bringing us the deals, and then our CEO, getting him on a plane with the other CEO and getting them to talk, and it took years. And finally they said, you know what, we're better together than separate. And it's very, that kind of situation. When I was on the smaller side, when I got out here and looking to do deals, and I'm in more in an advisory role, listen, it's usually your suppliers, it's your customers, it's your competitors. you know your little circle of folks, and you're thinking, around and saying, I really know this space, and how do I go ahead and work in that space and try to acquire a company in that space? So it's a very different mentality depending upon what stage you're in. If you're talking about starting a company, that's a totally different story.
Yes.
And for me, starting a company was very much like, what problems do I see in my life? And after I left my Series C company and started to do my own thing, I had to look for an idea. And when I was looking for an idea, I looked at basically, I was serving as an advisor to several of my friends who said, hey, can you help me out and raise money here or do M&A? And so I just, on the side was just helping folks out, just to, pay the bills. And I realized I ran into the problem of, said, hey, Tim, you need a financial model if you're going to send this model over to a buyer. And at that point, I was like, gosh, this is exactly the same thing I did 30 years ago. There's got to be a solution to this. And I started to play with ChatGPT and a lot of the AI technology, and it just made sense because it just was my background and really me understanding that market where I just jumped in and was able to find it. So for me, it was combining different facets of my life and bringing it together, and just happened to meet at the right time.
Interesting. So as far as the application to those that are in the room as well, they're looking for an acquisition. Now, can you walk through some negotiations and the potential of term sheets and being able to go through that? So for example, this does apply to a few people in here right now.
Yep.
And I want you to speak to that as far as the negotiations and then also leveraging a financial stack that can be of benefit for you. So you've been in the private markets and you've seen different financial stacks. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. Now, I would say for a lot of the folks, so we're talking about, let's say, deals under $50 million. Let's talk about that, right? Where a lot of you guys are involved, and call it 10 million, and there's probably an SBA loan involved, right? And so the government does provide financing through the SBA loan program, and I've leveraged that in the past to finance some of my businesses. It's a very, you take personal risk, right? There's a lot of personal guarantees that are involved, but it depends upon how deep you want to go. And if not, then you're going to go hit a venture firm or so on, or try to find an acquisition fund that can supply the capital. But that's secondary. The first one is you got to find a company that you really are interested in. And I think number one is find something that you know. I strongly suggest you find something that you know, or something within the belt. And it doesn't have to be that it's a subject area like the specific space, like I know the food or beverage space, but it could be that I really know marketing, I really know sales, right? And I know that product is not that difficult to understand, but it's a sales and marketing game. Or I'm really good at product development, and really finding the value of saying, hey, that guy did this, or that gal did this, and I can take it from here to there, because I think a lot of it is you're looking at sort of a multiple return, right? Because if you do the same thing they do, you're going to get the same return that they're going to do, or unless you're looking to cash flow the business. If you want to take it to the next level, what value do you provide? And that's exactly how a private equity fund would look at it, right? You would say, it's going like this, I can borrow money, and there's a little bit of leverage there, but then what can I do to ramp that sale up, right? In terms of get additional product lines, or how do I sell? So I look at it from that perspective, what value can I add as me? And then I also look around my network and say, I can't do it all by myself most of the time. I need other friends of mine that can come in alongside me, that can leverage and complement me to help, and together 1 + 1 = 3, then let's apply it together. Because it's very lonely being an individual founder, It is very lonely, and there are people who do it, and God bless them. That's not me.
Yeah.
I love to have someone that comes alongside me, and when I get down, they're pushing me, and when they're down, I'm pushing them. I think for me, that's a very, very positive, healthy thing. And so, just my perspective.
Okay, so we need to talk a little bit about post-integration and pre-integration.
Sure.
And developing that relationship that you were able to develop when you, as a large corporation, bought that other corporation.
Yes.
But then also, so let's share to the audience here what has been good as far as that deal, and then also maybe a deal that you've seen where maybe money or greed has gotten involved, because there's also egos that can get involved in deals, and that can really destroy it. I'm sure you've probably seen that multiple times, not just egos, but personalities.
Right. So there's two questions in there. One is, how do you number one, evaluate the company and integrate it in, right? And number one, right? Because that's a daunting task, especially if it's a multi-billion. But even if it's a $50 million company or 10, they're a daunting task, because they know more than you, right? They know more than you, and they're selling the company, and you're sitting there, well, what do I not know? Right? And so one of the things I would do is, number one, figure out the main reasons, 3 reasons why you're doing this deal, right? I can increase the sales, right? Number 2, I can retain more employees, or I can hire better employees. So figure out 3 reasons why you would do the deal, and base a lot of your acquisitions upon that. The other one I do is I look at my advisors and my friends, people who know the business, and say, what are the downsides? How does this go to 0? Figure that the black hole. And I write there in every single black hole it could be, and I look it down, and it could be thousands of things, but look at the main things that could take it to 0, as applies to how the business runs. So those are the 2 areas I look at, whether it's a $1 billion deal or whether it's a $50 million deal. Those are the 2 things I look at: is what's the reason why I'm doing this deal, and can I ask a lot of questions and dig into that? The other one is, what can take this to 0? What are the big black holes here? And if you can focus on that, then you can operate.
Purpose and risk mitigation. I think those are 2 things that I just got from what you just said. And we have some people right now here that are looking for their acquisition, and it's very wise advice. I appreciate that. So, go ahead.
The other question you asked me was, tell me about some things that went well. Tell me about some deals that went bad. Right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, the best deals I found out were friendly deals. Like, there are guys who make like Bill Ackman, who go out and folks like that who are sort of more hostile guys, and God bless them for being good at it, right? That's not me, right? I like to have a trusting relationship with the other side, where I feel like I'm being open with them, they're being open with me. Now, not everything, but as much as possible, build that relationship. And based on that trust, they'll tell you a lot. If they trust you and they believe that you care about getting a good, like a fair deal, the other person will open up with you. I've been shocked at the things that people have told me, and I won't use it against them. And I will not use that against them, right? But I will try to negotiate a fair deal based upon what they do. And as long as I'm honest, and they feel like they're doing, most of the time, not all the time, most of them, they'll be honest back. And I think that's a very important thing, is to build that trust. Because if you don't have the trust, it's going to be a tough deal, because you don't know that company, they know the company. Right? And so number 1 is that. I think on the good deals, I think there was trust on both sides. We built trust, and we purposely went out and spent time together, right? Whether it was to go lots of dinners together, spend time in their office, spend time with them, ask about the families, and build that relationship. I think that's very important, and that's my style, right? Secondarily, deals that didn't go well was when we got greedy. I had a company that was doing very well, that I went to China. There was an acquirer in China back in 2013 and 14, and we had the 13th most well-known company in a certain industry that we built from nothing, and they were looking to buy us. And at that time, it was a pretty frothy time. So we're beating our chest, saying, we built this great company, and I want X, and they went the other way, right? We're trying to get in cheap, right? And we're trying to get in, and we're trying to take so it ended up being a very nasty type of situation. We were not rude to each other, but clearly from the beginning it was not going to work, right? Because we were asking for the moon, and every time they asked something, we upped it. We said, this is a buyer's market. You want to get into the U.S., then you're going to have to pay, right? And they're like, well, that's not what we do, and hey, we can bring all this stuff to you, and that's not what we do, but we'll give you an exit now. And when you don't have that alignment among what you guys are trying to do, and both of you are trying to pull towards the edges versus making it work, you have an issue. And the people that, I'll say, there are a lot of folks that say, don't meet in the middle, right? Sometimes you have to meet in the middle. Not all the time, sometimes you have to meet in the middle.
We had a speaker at our last AquaCon. His name is David Bradford, and he used to work for Novell. And he was in the midst of negotiations with Bill Gates, because they were wanting to buy Novell for multiple billions of dollars. And David was like, I don't know, I didn't trust Bill Gates. There just wasn't things. There were some things that he had seen, and heard, and also had experience, that he was just like, I don't know. But it was in essence the speed of trust. So you lack trust, speed slows down. And within your deals, it's like, if you don't have your, we all know trust is super important, but you don't equate.
Saying, I'll pay you 80%, buy me 80%, I want the 20% that I get from you. So if you really want to do the deal, right, you got to figure out what they really, really want. Or they want someone who they trust and they like. So it's not always about money. It's not always about the highest dollar value. So the question is, what do you offer? Because a term sheet, in a way, I build it as, there's a certain format to a term sheet, but ultimately I gear it towards them. Saying, I'm trying to fulfill, and I start with, I'm trying to fulfill what I heard from you, what you want, right? So I build it as a sales document, right? Not just the terms. I look at it as, how do I convince them that I am listening to you, I'm trying to get you what you want, and the term sheet is geared towards answering that question.
That's wise. So, you know, obviously you've started Socratics AI. We've heard a little bit about it tonight, and I think that there's a massive disruption that's happening within our entire industries, or every industry for that matter, with AI. And can you explain a little bit about the deep problems that you're solving, though, with Socratics?
Sure.
And then also how you think that'll transform the marketplace?
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, Socratics, a lot of it is just literally the need and the problem that I had was, I'm a senior guy. I haven't been an analyst in years, and someone's asking me to create what they call a 3-statement model, which is an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement, all linked together, right? Accountants don't build this. Investment bankers build it. But when I was a CFO, I would love that 3-statement model, right, built for my operating plan. So I sat there and I said, I always wished I had it. And there were a lot of SaaS platforms that provided it. It's this kind of modeling, but to customize it to you, it would take weeks of services work. I'm like, I don't have weeks. Like, I got to get this plan out in a week. Can someone? So I literally hired somebody that I knew who was an investment banker and paid him a lot of money to build it for me, right? Because I forgot how to build it, right? And secondarily, later on, what I realized was, and I let that go, right, when I was a CFO. When I was off advising my friends' companies, I didn't have time, right? I didn't have analysts working for me. I'm not at a big firm anymore. And I'm sitting there saying, I got to build a financial model that I have to send over to the buyers, investment bankers. And these guys, it's just me, right? And I'm sitting there, I can go, and this is before ChatGPT really being popular, right? So I got to bring out my own finance book. I got to Google, how do you link, how do you get the cash off the balance sheet? I forgot, right? And so the idea was, how do I not have to think about it? How can I just upload some base? So it goes back to the grunt work of taking accounting, financial stuff, and putting it in a formatted manner that easily comes out for small businesses or for investment bankers working with private companies. Taking this dirty, messy stuff that my brother-in-law put together, right? Number one, being able to validate it and make sure it works, and put it together in a model that's what I call a modelable format, how an investment banker would look at it. How do I do that in 3 minutes? So that was our goal. We said, I want a 3-statement link model, taking whether a PDF or whatever it is, and we know the pain. If you're an analyst, you know what I'm talking about. It's grunt work pain to put it in an Excel spreadsheet and then fix it. How do I do it in 3 minutes? And we did it. And the technical risk of it, and we could have done it without really understanding the deterministic, which is to build out the rules, thousands of rules to do it, because you can't just use AI. AI is not that smart yet to do that. And then throwing AI on top to finish a little bit of it that can't be done with deterministically, and then having the human come in and answer some of those questions. So that's what we built. But fundamentally, the question is it goes back to, how do you start a company? I really wanted to do something that I really understood, I was an expert at, and number two, that fit my needs, so I knew there was a pain point. And then, guys, 18 months, we did over 600 discovery calls, meaning we spent over 600 calls for 30 to 45 minutes with investment bankers, private equity guys, asking them about their pain, of what we thought it was versus what they think it is, right? What's the problem for you? Because I could think all it is for me, but it's one perspective. And we did 600 of those, which I haven't heard anyone else do 600. But we spent time understanding from our customers, and that's how we started the company.
Well, we're excited about it, and I would say with those here in the room as well as online, what are you asking for as far as support, and how can we as a community support you tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, because I think you guys are great. If you guys want to copy this, I'm willing to hand it out to you guys that try it out, right? So you guys let me know, and we'll give you access to it, so you guys can try it out.
Sweet.
And happy to do it. If you have friends, happy to do it. Have you guys try it out and give us some feedback on it, and that'd be great. Look, we have 30 investment banks, private equity funds, and private credit funds who are basically private lenders who use this a lot. They're using it right now, but I'm happy to have you guys try it out. It's still a bit buggy, to be honest with you. We're figuring it out, but no one else in the world has something like this right now. So we're happy to have it, and I'm willing to offer it to the Aquacon network.
That's awesome. Well, everyone here is in process. That's what we are, no matter what stage of life we're at. I think we're always learning something. So we've learned a lot here tonight with Tim Oon, with the founder of Socratics AI, and we're just going to take a bit of a break here.